Josh, and I'm going to be walking you through how to do a gear shakedown with your crew prior to your arrival here at Northern Tier. Whether you decide to do this shakedown as an entire crew all together or with individual participants, the easiest way to do this is to have your crew members organize their gear in front of them while you read off from our gear checklist while they show their gear to you. This gear checklist can be found in the description of the video. The first item on that gear checklist is the most important, and it's this pair of boots. There are a few things that we want from these pair of boots. First is that they are a sturdy boot. We want them to be of sturdy construction with lots of nice ankle support, that they're going to make sure to keep your scouts' feet and ankles safe and secure while you're hiking down the portage trails. The second thing you're going to want to look for is make sure that these boots are not waterproof. That is super important. You want to make sure that these boots are going to allow water to drain out of them so that your scouts' feet are staying nice and healthy, and they're not going to be sitting in water all day and getting some sort of swamp foot or athlete's foot or something like that. The next thing on the list is camp shoes. Camp shoes, the things you want to double check and make sure on these are that they are closed-toed shoes and that they are lightweight, easy to pack, and really important note to remember, make sure that they're not Crocs. Crocs are not allowed up here at Northern Tier. Next thing on the gear checklist is a rain jacket. Rain jacket is going to be one of those things that are going to keep your scouts dry and warm while you're out on trail if we do have some rainy days. Next thing to look for in your scouts items are shirts. They're going to have two of these shirts. One is a wet shirt and one is a dry shirt. So the wet shirt is going to be what they're wearing while they're canoeing day in and day out, and then one is a dry shirt. The dry shirt is going to be something that they're going to wear in camp. A couple things to consider while you're looking at their shirts is the wet shirt. Make sure it's a synthetic quick drying shirt. That way it'll be more comfortable day in and day out while you're wearing it over and over again. And the camp shirt is just something that they can be comfortable in and enjoy wearing. Next on that list is going to be two pairs of pants. You're going to have a pair of wet pants and a pair of dry pants. Your wet pants, again, you want them to be some sort of synthetic quick drying material so that they will do their best to dry in between days of paddling. And then your dry pants are just something that they can be comfortable in, whether they're long pants to protect from the mosquitoes or anything like that, just to make sure they're comfortable and warm and stuff like that while they're in camp. Next thing that you're going to look for is 3 pairs of socks. First pair of socks is going to be their wet pair of socks. These are going to be what they're going to be wearing every day while they're canoeing, and they're going to be staying wet the whole trip. You want to make sure that these are some sort of wool socks that will keep their feet warm while they're wet. Next pair of socks is going to be your camp socks. These are going to be dry socks. They're going to stay, hopefully, dry all trip long. These are going to be what you wear with your camp shoes. Now the last pair of socks is super important. It is your emergency dry socks. In the event that you have some big storm that kind of comes out of nowhere and gets your dry socks all soaking wet, you want to have this emergency pair of socks just to make sure that you've got something to keep your feet nice and dry and warm while you're in camp. Next thing to look for is 2 pairs of underwear. Again, we're going to have a wet pair of underwear and a dry pair of underwear. These things are just to help keep the scouts healthy and hygienic while they're out on trail. That way they're not wearing the same pair of underwear for their entire duration of the trip. Next thing that your scouts are going to need to have is a hat. A lot of people like the wide brim hats, or some people will go with a baseball cap. Either one works. It's pretty much up to personal preference for your scout, but you want to make sure they have a hat so that they are protected from the sun out on the water. We do have some really, really sunny days, and the glare from the water can be really bad, so just make sure they're wearing a hat. Next thing on that list is going to be a jacket and a warm hat. Something like a beanie or something like that, and a nice light fleece is a good thing for them to bring. Those are just in case we have a really cold night out there while you're on trail. That way they can wear those things, stay warm and stay safe out on trail. Have those things just in case. The last clothing item that they're going to need is an extra pair of clothes for when they come off trail. After they get off trail, they're going to want to take a shower and get out of their dirty clothes that they've been wearing for the past week or so. So you want to make sure everyone has a pair of dry, clean clothes that they can change into after they shower when they get back on base. Next, we're going to go through some of the required gear your scouts need to have when they get here to Northern Tier. First is going to be a sleeping bag. Now the sleeping bag, you want to make sure it's not any sort of run-of-the-mill, big old kind of loosey-goosey sleeping bag that they might bring on any campout that they can pack it as big as they want and they've got it in a car. You want to make sure it's a nice, pretty compact 3-season sleeping bag. We do have warm nights and we do have cool nights, so you want to make sure it's 3 seasons and can handle both of those. That way they're staying safe while they're asleep. And it's just something that can pack down pretty small, but nothing super ultra light that isn't going to keep them warm if we do have a cold night. Next thing on that list is going to be dry bags. Dry bags are super important to keep all those dry clothes we talked about earlier nice and dry. At Northern Tier, we require at least 25 to 30 liters of storage space in your dry bags, whether that be one big dry bag here, or you could do a couple small bags. They come in a lot of different sizes. You just want to make sure all of your scouts have that dry bag storage space to keep their personal belongings dry. Next on that list is a sleeping pad. A sleeping pad is going to be important. We do have a lot of rocky soil and roots close up to the ground, and so it can be really uncomfortable if you're just trying to sleep straight on the ground. So you want to make sure all of your scouts have some sort of sleeping pad. That way they're getting a good night's sleep every night while they're in camp and they're ready to paddle the next day. Another thing that you want all your scouts to have is a camp towel. The camp towel is going to be important to allow them to dry off their feet and all those parts of their body while they're in camp and waiting to change into their dry clothes. They can dry off their feet and make sure they're keeping those dry clothes dry. You want to also make sure all your scouts have a belt or suspenders or something to keep their pants up while they're out on trail. Just important to have, and you want to make sure they have that. Next thing you want to check all your scouts have is a toothbrush and toothpaste. Just because we're up here in the boundary waters doesn't mean personal hygiene kind of goes out the window, so make sure all of your scouts have that toothbrush and toothpaste so they can keep their breath nice and smelling good. Next thing on the list is going to be a mess kit. Now the mess kit is pretty simple. All they're going to need is 3 things. A bowl, a mug, and a spoon spork kind of thing. These 3 things are all they're going to need. They don't need any extra plates or anything like that. Just this simple mess kit right here is what they're going to need on trail. They'll be able to enjoy all of the delicious meals that they cook. They help the interpreter cook and all those nice desserts you'll get out on trail. Next thing your scouts are going to need to have is a water bottle. Make sure this is a 32-ounce water bottle. That's for our water purification system. But this water bottle needs to be sturdy and so that it hold up to any kind of beatings it gets throughout the day while you're going between portages and stuff. And it's nice to make sure all your scouts have a carabiner so this water bottle can stay nice and close to them while they're out on trail so they can stay hydrated all day long. Next item on the list is a headlamp. Now the headlamp is going to be useful while they're out in camp on trail. That way if they need to get out of their tent sometime when it's dark outside, they've got this headlamp and can make sure they're staying safe, not tripping over anything, and staying healthy. Next item you're going to see on the list is a whistle. A whistle is something that every one of your scouts need to have. It's going to help them be really safe while you're out on the water in the lakes. If you've got a really windy day and you're on a big lake, sometimes your boats can get kind of spread apart, and if one of your boats has some trouble, each member needs to have a whistle just so they can let the rest of the crew know, hey guys, come over here, we need some help, and that way the rest of the crew can kind of come and see what's up. Next thing on that list is going to be some chapstick. It can get kind of dry up here, so we want to make sure all your scouts are bringing chapstick, that way they can keep their lips nice and healthy. And the next thing on that list is going to be sunglasses. Sunglasses are super important. Like I said earlier, we've got lots of lakes that the sun is going to be bouncing off of, and a hot summer's day, want to make sure they've got sunglasses to protect their eyes and keep those healthy. Next thing on the list is going to be their personal medicines and stuff like that. You want to make sure that all your scouts, the personal medicines that they bring, that they have 2 different cases of that, so that if anyone has some accidents or anything like that and one of their medicines gets lost or damaged or disappears or they don't have enough, that make sure all of your scouts have 2 copies of the same medicine. And then you also want to make sure if they've got prescription glasses, that those prescription glasses, they also have 2 pairs of those, just in case one of them gets lost or broken or anything like that, just so that they can still see and enjoy their trip. Next thing on the list is some toiletries and items and stuff like that. You want to make sure all your scouts have shampoo and body wash and all that stuff so that when they get back off trail they can take a shower, be nice and clean, and good to go for the trip home. In addition to that, you want to make sure all of them are bringing a towel so they can dry off after their shower. Now on the bottom of the list you'll see some optional items that you can bring and make sure your crew has, and I'll just go through a few of those. Kind of one of the biggest and most important one of those optionals is bug protection. Some people like to use these over-the-head bug nets, but I really like to use the buff. The buff is a super handy tool to allow you to protect your face from bugs and mosquitoes and black flies and all those things. It's really easy to pull up and down. It's a super handy thing to have just to keep you healthy and safe out here. Some people also like to bring a little journal. This journal's good for recounting kind of the day's stories, all the animals you saw, the beautiful lakes you paddled through, the portages you took, and how you felt during those. So some of your scouts may want to bring this, encourage that so that they can really remember these things for the rest of their life. And last but not least, one optional thing that you guys can bring is a book. A book can be super handy for those off minutes that you're kind of waiting around in camp before dinner gets going or something like that, or you've got a little bit of extra time at the end of the day. Some people like to read them while they're paddling through the lakes, really kind of as a good entertainment system. So some of your scouts can bring that. It's an optional thing too. For the 2020 season, Northern Tier has added a few items to our gear list that are required for you to be able to attend one of our programs this summer. The first of those items is a personal bottle of hand sanitizer. That hand sanitizer can be a 2 to 3 ounce bottle, but you have to make sure that every one of your scouts has a bottle of hand sanitizer so they can clean their hands while on base. The next of those is a mask. A lot of different options of masks are allowed, such as a buff or a bandana or something like that, a cloth face mask that could be handmade or something like that, or an N95 mask, that of which we don't really recommend as there is still a current shortage in the medical industry. The one main requirement for those masks is that they cover your mouth and nose. As long as they do that, those masks will be good enough to allow you to come here on base and then get out into the boundary water so you can enjoy a wonderful trip this summer. That concludes our gear checkout, gear checklist things. So you just want to double check that all those scouts have the gear that they need well in advance of your trip. That way, if anyone needs to go out and buy something, they've got plenty of time to get out there and get that. And then you guys can come on up to Northern Tier. We look forward to seeing you this summer.